Fashionably late. We're waiting for you.
It's hard when you're like in training. People always are like wondering what have you told about? People were asking about the host on the baby. Because it's just happened.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today while I update you on what I consider a totally horrible set of circumstances. We have this man here. His name's James Royal Patrick Jr. Patrick lives on Avenue C Northeast in Winter Haven, and he went on Facebook. He went on Facebook starting September the 22nd, and then the 24th, and then the 29th, and he put several posts out. Those posts on Facebook are horrible. They're threatening. We received our first tip yesterday on October the 3rd that these posts were available for the public to see. And only 5 hours after the first tip, we had completed the investigation, enough to get a search warrant for his residence and an arrest warrant for him. We went to his house yesterday afternoon and arrested him as he returned home for threats to kill. He threatened to kill Democratic members of the U.S. Congress and weak Republicans and federal or local law enforcement officers that tried to interfere or come to his house. He talked about, and I quote Patrick, "What terrible people Democrats are. We'll turn the tide in this war," end quote. And then he made quotes such as, "Make plans and go to literal war against liberals." Ladies and gentlemen, words matter. And words will get you locked up in the county jail under a $500,000 bond. Let me read further of things that he posted. He not only threatened members of Congress, he threatened their families. He said other things like, just bought 12 boxes of hollow point 50 caliber bullets, have plenty of ammo for my sniper rifle, and bought a suppressor. Have made sure all my arrangements have been made and care for my dogs because I will not be coming home. have made extra precautions and added more supplies in the tunnel under my house in case local or federal law enforcement tries to stop me. Getting ready if Cav is not confirmed. Whoever I think is to blame, God have mercy on their soul. He went on to quote, just cleaned out the gun shop where I get guns, ammo, and target practice. Bought all the 50 caliber hollow points. I expect to be confronted and I will be ready to kill and ready to die. I'm about to accept an offer on my house just to get more money to fund my plan to kill Democrat office holders and their families. It is all I think about night and day. I even wake up in the middle of the night, most nights, thinking about it. Ultimately, I will be killed, but hopefully I will have killed many, many liberal elected in Washington. And he goes on with this quote, I can tell it seems I will be sacrificing my life for my country, but I am ready and will know who needs to be killed after the vote to put Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. I believe Democrats need to be afraid to do what they are doing right now, and weak Republicans that do not vote for him need to pay with their lives. I can't do this by myself. I need more conservatives going into liberal homes at night, killing them in their sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the words of someone that's capable of committing mass murder. Fortunately for us, because of our communications in this county, someone finally saw this and went on to our tip line. They saw something and they said something. And 5 hours later, he's arrested. Now, when we arrest him, he goes, oh, I knew it was pretty bad language, but I didn't think I would get in trouble because I didn't say about any one person. Well, newsflash, you did get in trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. Then he backs up and tells us, I didn't intend to hurt anyone. The guns that he had in his house did not resemble what he said he had in his house. There was no tunnel under his house. However, he had a .308 rifle, which certainly is a common deer rifle. It's also a common sniper rifle. He also had a .50 caliber handgun and a lot of ammunition in the vehicle with him when our deputies arrested him. We were joined by FBI agents from the Joint Terrorism Task Force. We take words seriously, and everyone must take words seriously. But here's the message, and the message is clear. People need to calm down and chill out. The Democrats aren't the enemy. The Republicans aren't the enemy. We are Americans. We're all Americans. And this is a great country and has always been a great country. And everybody needs to chill out and calm down. And people like this guy that had all of this, we're going to do our best to send him to prison for a long time. So for those of you in the community that think it's all right just to keep running that gum, beating that mouth together, understand this. When you threaten people, not just congressmen, not just law enforcement officers, when you threaten to kill, we're going to lock you up. This is serious. Words matter. I tell my deputies, and we coach every day, if they say it, they mean it. And if they say it, we mean to arrest them. But we've got into this hyper state. It's been created by the media, by the social media, by people that are angry on one side of the aisle or the other. Chill out. We're Americans first. And for people who would do this, someone said, well, who will do something like this? I can tell you who will do something like this. A nut. And I'll tell you something else. You know who shoots people? people who are nuts. This guy here, when we caught him, said it was not real. He was just making it up to scare people. Well, he's going to the county jail where he's locked up under $500,000 bond. We're going to work with the state attorney and attempt to put him in prison because that encourages bad conduct by other people. And who's to say he wouldn't have carried this mission out if the vote didn't go the way that he wanted? So at the end of the day, I want you to understand that our job in law enforcement is to protect everybody in this community. But understand, no matter what community you live in, the community's job is if you see something or hear something, say something, and I promise we'll act. From the time we got the tip to the time we were able to go to his house with a search warrant and an arrest warrant and put him in jail was only 5 hours. We won't mess around with this any place in this country. Are there any questions?
Sheriff, can you talk about, obviously, you guys were quick in getting this guy. Is the concern with these specific threats the fact that he went over and over and over, and it seems like he got more specific about his plans and intentions?
Well, quite frankly, he got even more vile than this. This is the only thing that I can, and this is pretty rough stuff. This is all I can say publicly. If you had the ability to go onto his Facebook, you would have seen all kinds of racist, crazy talk. But the reality is, when we have looked at the history of mass shooters or active shooters, there's been signs in the past that people were either ignored or denied. Well, we would have been wondering a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, if this guy ever started shooting, why didn't somebody say something? Look at all of the evidence here, and we could have intervened. Well, the system worked this time. Because somebody saw something, they said something. Because they said something, our detectives investigated. And with lightning speed, according to how investigations and cases are worked, he went to jail and he's still locked up. And he has a great deal of requirements if he's able to post a bond. We're also using our new RPO that passed this last year in the state of Florida, Risk Protection Order, to keep him from being able to possess a firearm during this period of time if he were to get out, because obviously there would be no record that he was a convicted felon. And because he's not. He's only had one other arrest. But this is the kind of person we worry about, because you look after the fact, and many times these mass murderers or mass shooters don't have an illustrious history. They're not your traditional criminal. And as a result, we find that there were other warning signs, where this time there were warning signs, and this time we acted. And this time he's in jail and no one's hurt. And quit speaking ill of people in public office with the intent to harm them. You cannot like someone's politics and still like them as an individual.
Do you think the tides are changing as far as what people can and will say on social media? I mean, sort of like, 25 years ago, if you joked around about having a weapon at an airport, it wasn't taken as seriously as it is now. Do you think that's kind of the way this is going? Be careful what you say.
I can tell you it's a new normal. It's a new normal because we know that active shooters have given warnings in the past, and sometimes on social media, sometimes in notes that they have written, or sometimes just in words that they spoke in some company. Don't do it, because I can assure you, every time we can put a case together, we're going to lock you up. You're not going to hurt anyone. You're not going to hurt members of Congress, of the legislature, of county or city commissions. You're not going to hurt each other. We're going to stand in the gap and protect the community and protect our our elected representatives, and it appalls me and shocks me that you would say such about one party or the other. We're going to protect everyone because we're all Americans first. So calm down, take a deep breath. If it upsets you that much to watch the evening news, turn it off. And don't threaten to hurt people, because if you threaten to injure, kill people, it's a crime.
Sheriff, right now he's facing one count. Is it possible he could face more charges? And how long could he go to prison if he's convicted?
Well, this is a second-degree felony, so the one count could get him up to 15 years. But keep in mind, the investigation's still new. We don't know what else he may have done yet. I mean, this just started, and we acted with lightning speed, and then we'll follow up. When we sit down with the prosecutors, we may be able to talk them into, well, every text was another count. We don't know. That's still under investigation with the state attorney's office. I can tell you, Brian Haas, our state attorney, is simply the very best. His prosecutors are totally awesome, and they will work with us and do everything that the law will allow them to do to protect the community and to protect members of Congress, law enforcement officers, and everyone that happens to be watching one of these podcasts, social media, television. We're going to keep you safe.
Is this a case where he can be Baker acted?
Do you know he didn't display any conduct yesterday that warranted a Baker Act? He wasn't delusional. He wasn't irrational. He didn't threaten suicide. He just said, well, I didn't think I was violating the law because I didn't speak of a individual by name, and I just wanted to, like, shake people up. Shook us up, and now we shook him up.
Do you know anything about his previous criminal history?
It's minor, battery complaint, I think.
Sheriff, one of those posts that you mentioned talks about having just purchased all these guns and ammunition. Was he telling the truth there? Did he just buy these weapons?
Do you know, apparently he'd had these for a period of time, but he may have purchased some more ammunition. But once again, we didn't find the bevy of ammunition or firearms. He talked about a 50 caliber rifle. He didn't have a 50 caliber rifle in the house. He had a 50 caliber handgun, which is a different gun altogether. But the reality is, we still take him serious because these firearms are absolutely, a 308 is a deer rifle. As it appears, it's also a sniper's rifle used by law enforcement. The handgun is a high-powered handgun. He had that with him. But I can tell you this, that in this environment today, words will get you locked up when you threaten to kill someone.
Two-part question. How far do these threatening posts go back? And viewers were asking, how come he was just arrested now?
Okay, for our viewers on Facebook,
They were reading our post from earlier.
oh, well, they didn't pay attention. So let me tell them again. He began doing this on September the 22nd, 24th, and 29th. The tipster warned us on October the 3rd, yesterday. We immediately started the investigation and was able to do enough investigation to have a search warrant and arrest warrant completed and him locked up within 5 hours. Did you get it that time?
And how far did those posts go back? Was it just in September?
September 29th, 22nd, 24th, and 29th, all we have now. Now, of course, we'll be serving subpoenas on Facebook, and we'll try to look back and see if we can find any other counts. All right?
I did see one dating back to 2017 where he shared it himself a month ago or so. How fortunate is, in your opinion, that nothing happened with this man over the last year or more?
Well, quite frankly, you don't expect anyone to threaten to do this, because if they say it, they have the proclivity to do it. But he thought it was, in his opinion, if you accept him at face value, that he was just trying to shake people up. He was just trying to make them nervous. Well, you know what? It's against the law. And don't do that stuff. It's not funny. It never has been funny. But now it will get you arrested before quick.
Have the federal agents, the terrorism task force, anybody in Washington, are they reaching out to you to find out more information about him?
We had an FBI agent and we're on the Joint Terrorism Task Force as well, with us yesterday, and of course we would have checked him against any interest that he had on a larger scale, and there's nothing. But understand, he had powerful weapons, and if you look at this text and you listen to what I quoted, and you know, James Royal Patrick Jr. got locked up for what he did. And the entire country should be angry that anyone would make such threats against anyone, especially our representatives who are in Washington doing a very difficult job under trying circumstances when the Congress is divided like they are. There's going to be discourse, but any disagreement needs to be civil. It doesn't need to be vile and obscene and racist and threatening to murder people. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sheriff.